What is going on, my fellow humans? My name's Han, and today I want to talk about the importance of the supporting characters of Berserk. Berserk gets tons of well-deserved praise for how well-written and developed the main cast is, but the side characters play almost as big a role as the main characters in making Berserk feel like a real world filled with people with hopes, dreams, sorrow, and love. Most works of fiction have a main cast that gets most of the narrative attention, and then the secondary cast exists primarily to give the main cast something to interact with. So the amount of depth and development that these secondary characters get is usually pretty shallow. Berserk takes a different approach. The school of thought here is that everyone's a real person with their own unique perspective, goals, and personality. If I had to compare it to something, I'd probably have to go with The Simpsons. That show's secondary cast got so much attention that if you watched it for long enough, you genuinely got the sense that you really knew these people as if you were a citizen of Springfield yourself. But I digress. Let's get back to Berserk and take a look at a couple supporting characters and just see why they're such a big deal. The first character I want to spotlight is Jill from the Lost Children chapter of the Conviction arc. We first see her as a captive of some bandits. One of the bandits decides he wants to, do the bad thing to her, but as he gets a little too licky, she knees him right in the balls, so by panel 2, we already get a sense of the type of person that Jill is. Guts saves her from the bandits and a tree spirit, and later decides to take her back home. When she gets back home, we see that she has a loving mother, but her father is an abusive drunk. And the reason she got kidnapped is because she ran away from home. We then see a couple middle-aged men saying they're glad to see her again, and one of them apologizes for last night. And as they're saying that, the expression on her face is that of fear and shame. So yeah, we're already getting a strong picture of what life is like for Jill. Her father is an evil fuck that allows his friends to rape his daughter. This is also a strong parallel of Guts' relationship with Gambino. It's at that point that she berates her father for his drunkenness, and he responds by whipping her about the head with his cane. In this very limited time we follow Jill, we already see that at this young age she's become extremely jaded due to her horrible home life, and that she feels like she's got nothing to lose, so she refuses to put up with all the bullshit of the adults around her, even though she's still in fear of them. After the townspeople attack Guts, Jill tells him of a place he can hide and that she'll bring him some food in the morning. We see that she has a strong sense of duty, and that it seems that she just wants to be around someone who doesn't treat her like shit for once. Later that night, one of Jill's father's friends is drinking with him, and he drunkenly stumbles towards Jill's room, and she has to jam a piece of wood between the door handles so he can't get to her. We find out that there's an army of apparent elves that are out murdering people and kidnapping their children. As Jill sees their leader and hears her mention a character from a fairy tale, Jill realizes that the leader of the elves is her old friend Rosine. Guts ends up taking Jill hostage at knife point so he can get out of the village, but even with a knife at her throat, there's no sense of fear in Jill's face. At this point, she trusts Guts more than anyone else in the world. When they get far enough from the village, Guts tells her to go home, but she tells him that she wants to go with him to the Misty Valley where the elves live because she wants to find out if that monster is really her old friend. Here we see how brave she is. Either that, or she just doesn't care about her own well-being anymore. Guts tells her that she can't go with him, and we see her realizing that the only person who's treated her like a real human being is leaving, and that horrible life is going to continue as if nothing ever happened in the first place. She decides not to listen to Guts and follows him. She lost track of where Guts went, but ran into Puck, who left Guts after an argument. Puck says that it's probably not a good idea to follow Guts like this, and that she might regret it. But her response is that she'd probably end up regretting it just as much if she went back home, just nailing home how nihilistic her views are becoming. They later catch up with Guts, and Jill told him about her relationship with Rosine, and reveals that she found a trinket shaped like an egg, and Guts concluded that that was a bailet. Jill also reveals that Rosine came from an abusive home as well, so them being together made it easier to cope with their respective hardships. One night, it was just too much for Rosine to handle, and after being beaten, she came to Jill's window and told her that she was leaving to be with the elves and was never seen again. It's at this point that Guts leaves Jill alone, and Rosine shows up and embraces Jill in a very suggestive way. It's never stated outright, but there is a good chance that Jill and Rosine's relationship was a romantic one. Rosine takes Jill flying and she's blown away by the view. It seems to Jill like her old friend is just the same as she always was and just wants to be with her again. But it's revealed that this would include becoming an elf herself. On the shelf. Okay, there's my joke I have to apologize for. Rosine tries her best to get Jill to join her, but Jill is very apprehensive about the proposition. Jill voices her concerns, and to Rosine's credit, she tells Jill that it's fine and that she should sleep on it. Puck finds Jill and tries to get her out of there, but Jill's just as apprehensive of going home as she is with staying with Rosine. She tells Puck just to tell her what to do, that she's sick of living in constant fear and would hate to end up like her mother. A mother that doesn't stand up to her husband when he's beating the shit out of her daughter and letting his friends have their way with her. It's at this point that Jill sees just how horrible life as an elf is. This is where the adult attack panel comes in. And that adult attack, that is the most brutal fucking thing ever. So yeah, that kinda makes it easy to decide. Jill ran away, but Rosine found her and decided to turn her into one of her pseudo-apostles against her will. But Guts showed up before she could do it. A long drawn-out fight begins between Guts and Rosine, and this is probably one of the best fights in the entire series. In the end, Guts ends up mortally wounding Rosine, and Jill runs over to her to comfort her. Even after all the horrible things that she did, Jill still saw Rosine as a friend. Rosine's such a tragic character just because all of the horrible stuff that she went through, and just getting to that breaking point where she couldn't take it anymore and the Baelit did its job. That's why Baelits are so fucked up. It's not like they seek evil people out. The people they seek are the desperate ones. The ones who just can't take it anymore, and because of that, the evil that existed in their hearts but was under control in their human form just gets totally unleashed, and what was left of their humanity disappears. After Rosine died, Jill's father came back for her and told her to go home with him. She said that she can't go yet, so her shitty father swung his cane again, but this time she dodged it effortlessly like some kind of DBZ character. She decided that she has to find Guts and make sure he's okay. When she finds him, she begs him to take her with him. She rushes over to hug him and begs him to take her anywhere to get away from this horrible life. It's then that she notices all the tormented spirits behind Guts about to attack, and he asks her if this is the paradise she's looking for. Guts tells her that there is no paradise for her to run off to. If she comes with him, all she'll find is a battlefield and an early grave. As Puck says his goodbyes to her, she says that she's going to return home, but from now on she's going to cry, shout, and bite her way through, and maybe something will change. As she waves to Puck, we see a look of hope on her face for the first time, and she thinks to herself that she's about to start her own battle. From now on, she's going to fight. She's no longer going to live in fear. Maybe she'll put her father and his shitty friends in their place and rescue her mother. And that's the last we see of Jill. It ends on a hopeful note, but she has a long road ahead of her. The other character I want to talk about is one who totally subverted my expectations and turned the trope of the arranged husband on its head. Of course, I'm talking about King Pimp of the Seven Seas himself, Roderick. Before we talk about him, let's talk about how this type of character is normally portrayed. Usually this character is rich, pretentious, and an asshole who feels that he's entitled to marrying the woman even when it's clear that she wants no part in marrying him. Normally these characters have no redeeming qualities, you're rooting for them to get their just desserts, and they're about as deep as Jaden Smith. And Miura set Roderick up as if he was going to fall into this trope seamlessly. When we see him meet Farnese, he hits on her in that way that assholes do when they think they're being charming, taking her hand, calling her his princess, and asking her to dance. And as Magnifico introduces Roderick to his family to inform him that he's been arranged to marry Farnese, it's revealed that he's third in line for the throne of Ith, or Eth, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's IITH, so have fun with that. And he's got like the most royal douchebag German surname of Stauffen. Just to be clear, like, I'm not throwing shade at Germans or anything. In fact, most of my heritage is German. I just think that particular name just nails the whole spoiled prince thing that Miura was seemingly setting up. It's at this point when the party gets attacked by the Kushan tiger creatures, and Roderick shows that he might have a little badassery in him, as his first reaction to this giant predator killing dozens of partygoers is to draw his sword and tell Farnese's family to stay behind him. After the Funky Bunch shows up to rescue Farnese, Guts tells Roderick just to run away and leave it to the pros. But Roderick refuses and decides to fight in order to both protect and impress Farnese. After the tigers are dealt with, we see Roderick really starting to subvert the archetypal royal arranged husband, as he tells the group that he'll take them to Skellig Island himself. I think Miura intentionally made Roderick the exact opposite of what you'd expect. Aside from the bravery he showed, he also doesn't have that huge sense of entitlement that usually comes with this type of character. After he realizes that Farnese wasn't really into the whole arranged marriage thing and that she just did it to get her friends a ship, he didn't try to pressure her into going through with the marriage. He set out to earn her love legitimately. Our next little look at Roderick's nature comes on the ship when Casca falls overboard and Guts jumps in to save her. Guts is unable to make it back to the surface due to the weight of his metal arm and the injuries that he's sustained in the previous battles, so Roderick jumps in to save him. We then see just how much of a pro Roderick is when one of his men spies a few ships. Roderick was informed that the ships quickly changed their flag to match his, and just from that he ascertained that those ships were pirates and had his men prepare for battle. Turns out that the pirates just so happened to be the ones that Isidro and Mule fought back in the city, and the same ones that would turn into big dumb tentacle Shadow over Innsmouth Dagon creatures. Those pirates were in for a rude awakening as they get nailed by a broadside cannon volley from a range they didn't think possible. It seems that Roderick has quite the reputation on the seas, as when the pirates see the seahorse figurehead on the bow of his ship, they kinda freak the fuck out. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole play-by-play for the naval battle, but what I will say is that Roderick is a real pro. At every turn, he caught the pirates off guard and just bodied them in every way possible. It's unclear whether or not Roderick obtained his rank through nepotism due to his royal blood, but in the end, it's all irrelevant. Roderick is probably the best naval commander in the world. I'm going to leave the Roderick stuff here as his story still continues. But I hope this demonstrates just how important and well fleshed out some of these characters are, and how important they are in making Berserk the masterpiece that it is. And there's plenty of more supporting characters that play huge roles, like the prostitutes in the Conviction arc, Witch Flora, Gaston, Salat, and the list goes on. I might just make a part 2 covering some of them in the future, so if you are that way inclined, subscribe for some more Berserk stuff. Please rate the video, and if you made it all the way through, I really appreciate it. And as always, thanks for watching.